It is a great privilege to inaugurate this academic gathering on revisiting Sardar Patel's legacy on the agrarian reforms and social justice in contemporary India, jointly organized by School of Social Sciences and the School of Law here. The theme invites us to critically engage with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's vision for national unity, agrarian transformations, and social justice, ideas that remain central to the study of India's political and developmental trajectory today. By foregrounding both the historical and contemporary dimensions, this event aims to provide a forum for distinguished scholars and practitioners to revisit Sardar Patel's legacy through fresh analytical perspectives. In doing so, it also affirms that the significance of Sardar Patel's contributions lies not only in the historical moment but also in their continuing relevance to contemporary debates on democracy, equity, and development. This inauguration therefore sets the stage for deeper academic engagement with Sardar Patel's ideas and their place in the making of the modern India.
My only desire is that India should be a good producer and that no one should be hungry, shedding tears for food in the country. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, 1931. Honorable Vice Chancellor, esteemed guests and speakers, respected Director Sir, colleagues, scholars and dear students, good morning, namaskar and warm welcome. On behalf of School of Social Sciences and School of Law, Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences, it is my privilege to inaugurate the ICSSR-sponsored Rashtriya Ekta National Unity Seminar on revisiting Sardar Patel, agrarian reform and social justice in contemporary India. First of all, let me state this very proudly that RUAS is one of only 2 universities in Karnataka and among 42 institutions across India selected by ICSSR to host this national seminar series commemorating Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's 150th birth anniversary. We are grateful to ICSR for their trust and support. India's development story is rich and inspiring, yet uneven. We have reduced hunger and expanded opportunity, but vast segments of rural India still face fragile livelihoods. Much of our agriculture remains substance-oriented. Farming, paradoxically, is among the least preferred profession, even as millions depend on it. Climate change now intensifies this reality. Its first and harshest shock are felt in our fields, exacerbating the rural-urban divide. If we aspire to Viksit Bharat 2047, we must place farmers' dignity, rural productivity, and inclusive institutions at the very center of our national agenda. This is where Sardar Patel's thought and works speak with remarkable clarity. In Kheda 1918 and Bardoli 1928, Patel combined rigorous fact-finding with disciplined, non-violent mass action to secure fair taxation and protect peasant livelihoods. He believed in cooperatives and producers institutions that give farmers fair prices, bargaining power and voices. And he understood that inclusion is not an option but the strength. Meaning women's participation in Kheda and Bardoli did not merely support the movements, it's broadened their social base and legitimacy. For Patel, economic empowerment, political representation and social dignity move together. In this context, our seminar takes this legacy forward in 3 ways. First, we revisit Patel's farmer-first pragmatism through historical and legal lenses. What in this method can inform today's debate on risk, markets and institutional design. Second, we connect that method to contemporary policy goals. For example, SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 5, Gender Equality and SDG 15, Life on Land, and to India's Viksit Bharat vision of inclusive, tech-enabled growth. And finally, the third, we foreground law and governance from cooperative frameworks to constitutional safeguards because durable social justice requires rules, rights and capable institutions. Over this one-day seminar, we will deliberate and hear from distinguished scholars and policy leaders. We will examine agrarian reforms and farmer protests in historical perspectives, explore how cooperative and producer institutions can strengthen value chains, discuss women's leadership in rural economies, and consider actionable pathways to reduce socio-economic disparities. Our aim is not only scholarly reflection but practical insights. ideas that can translate into better policy, better law, and better outcomes on the ground.
In terms of the context of the seminar, uh, as young students and young faculty, I think it's important to recognize the founding fathers of the country. It's important because the founding fathers, or the founding parents, shall we say, to be politically correct, because there were a lot of women also involved, engaged in the freedom struggle and in the Constituent Assembly debates. If you go back to the debates in the Constituent Assembly and see the kind of intellectual engagement that happened, it was a confluence of different streams of thinking that went into what India should be like. And in that context of the founding parents of the country, Sardar Patel plays an extremely important role. You know, in recent public discourse, there's been a race among different political formations to appropriate Vallabhbhai Patel's legacy. In fact, some parts of the discourse have tried to suggest that Nehru and the first Prime Minister and Sardar Patel, who was the Home Minister, he was also the Minister of States, had many differences and that they were diametrically opposite. But what people often forget is that they together had a common vision for India's future, the India that was being born at the time. And that was of a democratic polity, a plural society, and a modern scientific outlook amongst the states. And on this, they were completely united in their views. I think this is something that all of us must remember as we move forward. And if we really want to achieve Viksit Bharat, which is the current Prime Minister's goal, it's very important that we preserve all of these principles or values that the founding fathers actually enunciated. In terms of Patel's legacy in agrarian reform and social justice, I think the context is very clear. Today, agriculture is the least preferred occupation, and the village is the least preferred home. And it remains a serious challenge because despite all the progress we have made, we still have close to half of the population depending on agriculture. So agricultural reform is a key challenge moving forward over the next decade. How are we going to make agriculture more productive?
So therefore, faculty members, those who are present here, make use of ICSSR, because now UGC almost stopped running the projects and all. In addition to that, even any faculty is interested to present paper in international forums, and also we support traveling grant. Like any scholar, like Professor Indra Madam, anyone is very serious about research, we have got senior research fellowships, then salary part also can taken care of by ICSSR. There are a lot of provisions are available with ICSSR, can apply and make use of it. So with related to this topic today, very contemporary relevant, our director sir has really contextualized from beginning to almost, he has covered all aspects of his great legacy of Sardar Patel ji. And he has not left anything other speakers to cover. That's another issue. So he is the Iron Man of India, known only he has united all the princely states. That's the history. Now, the young students and scholars are available here, not only just united princely states, he is also great reformer. He has great agricultural reforms. This, what we rightly put it, this seminar topic, agrarian reforms. Agrarian reforms are now very much need of the hour. What Sardar Patel ji organized a movement when government was raising the taxes around 22%. So he organized a movement not only for the tax, he has organized a big mass movement, but also government and public needs to recognize the dignity of the labor. That's a main motive. This hiking, resisting the taxation, that's one issue. The second issue is that labor, the dignity of labor must be identified, must be honored. That's another motive which he organized. He also rightly, our directors have pointed out, cooperative movement, Amul, very, very successful story. How the cooperative movements can be very successful in India. One of the best programs in India, that's Amul milk. Now, how much earlier 1970s they had to produce only 22 tons of milk. Now how much? Every day they are producing 22 million liters. Every day they are producing. That's one movement. So how this one, when farmers come together, how can they bargain? The strength of bargaining power increased at that time only he has thought of it. And how can fair price they can get it? So therefore, even he thought of very long back, this cooperative movement is very much essential. And also now we are talking about inclusive growth and women's participation, women inclusive growth and all. When he is organizing mass movements, he has also given equal importance to women's. So women inclusivity already he has started by Sardar Patel. So now after almost we are marching towards 8 decades of independence. Now we are talking so explicitly. He thought of those days only women inclusivity in all policy reforms.
Of Sardar Patel, and one of the pre-keynote speaker has already shared about the views of Sardar Patel. So nothing much. What JNU shares, thinks about, that I'll share with you, and something very interesting. After his death, and even in his lifetime, and JNU in particular carried those ideas, treated Sardar Patel as bourgeois reactionary, lackey of imperialism, running dog of imperialism, communalists. This was the political metaphors that was used for Sardar Patel, and in the last 55 years or plus, since 69 onwards, JNU was established. And in 1970, the Students' Union comes to JNU, the SFI, the CPIM, Sitaram Yechury and all kinds of. And the propagation of the left narrative, which began to dominate the whole JNU narrative. And this was the narrative that I shared with you. In the last 55 years, there has been never ever a seminar on Sardar Patel. First time, the CPA, Center for Political Studies, of which I chair at this moment as a chairperson, funded by the ICSR, I requested the member secretary, Professor Dhananjay Singh, again a colleague in the JNU. So if possible, give me some funds and let me organize the seminar and let me see. Let me talk to the students there. And the first time in the history of JNU, a seminar on Sardar Patel was organized. So when Sardar Patel comes, the Nehru comes automatically, because the competitions, the collaborations, etc. Both of them belong to the liberal democratic school. Both of them were hardcore nationalists. Both of them wanted to use a state, the government, for the developmental progress of India. But then there was sharp differences between the two on the leadership quality. This aspect has been left azar and aside for the last 75 years after his death. Of course, apart from the rivalry, political rivalry, this attitudinal interpretations, the one who rose from the bottom, his father was a rebel of 1857, I'm talking about Sardar Patel, just escaped and survived, spent his last 10 years in the temple in his village. On an average 2 bigha, 2 acres of land, 5 brothers, rose from the bottom. His looking at the world was entirely different. The other person, Prime Minister Nehru, descended from the top, looked at the world in an entirely different way, brought in European ideas of socialism to India in 1920s and 30s and subsequently.
Pride that we have on the dais, distinguished people who have created an aura, not only in the inaugural session, but based on their experiences, enrichment that they have brought to this beautiful seminar and the conference. Each one of them right in their own right. Write R-I-G-H-T and R-I-G-H-T. But now you have to write W-R-I-T-E. That is going to be the blog which will come out from the discussion, the deliberations. I sincerely thank the School of Social Science and the School of Law for taking this wonderful initiative in bringing forth best of the minds at the national level, at the state level, and to interact with some of the budding jurists, social scientists, to take this nation forward. Because what has been said in the beginning and since then, that the legacy of independence, pre-independence, and now, what is the scope for us for Viksit Bharat is very, very important. Of sages, scientists, thinkers. So therefore, for us, learning the phases, whether it is partition or pre-partition, I think we, the people of India, Bharat, have been akhand, irrespective of our color, caste, creed, region, or religion. We are all one. And in that oneness, such seminars which are being a tribute, contemporarization of what Dr. Sardar Patel, Sardar, why I say doctor? Because many people who have contributed have not done PhD, but it is an honor that their philosophy has achieved that excellence, that people remember them when they are not alive. People don't remember us who have done PhDs and still alive, but you would remember them. That is the prophecy of those great men, those great women, and India has much rich literature and culture.
Most, I express our deep sense of gratitude to our chief guest, Professor B. Sudhakar Reddy sir, for gracing this occasion with his presence and for his encouraging words. Your constant support to academic initiatives has greatly inspired us, sir. So thank you very much. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our keynote speaker, Professor Himanshu Roy sir, Chairperson, Center for Political Science, Jawaharlal Nehru University, for delivering such an insightful, vocal and thought-provoking address. Your perspectives have definitely set the tone for meaningful deliberations in this seminar. Thank you, sir. We are equally grateful to Professor Kuldeep Raina, sir, Vice Chancellor, Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences, for his leadership and for always fostering a culture of critical inquiry and dialogue in our all academic endeavors. A special word of thanks to Shri Gurucharan Golarkari Sir, Director of School of Social Science and School of Law, for his invaluable guidance, constant support and encouragement, and keen interest in the success of this seminar. Thank you so much, sir. Our sincere gratitude also goes to Professor R. Indira, Professor of Eminence, School of Social Sciences, whose rich academic contributions and inspiring presence have added great value to this gathering. Thank you, ma'am. We also extend our thanks to Professor V. Vijay Kumar, Professor of Eminence and Advisor, School of Law, for his valuable contributions and continued support to this initiative. Thank you so much, sir. Last but not the least, I thank to the convener, Dr. Akhil, Assistant Professor, School of Social Science, and Ms. Dr. Ramya, Assistant Professor, School of Law, for their tireless efforts and meticulous coordination and commitment for the organization of this seminar.
ಸರ್ದಾರ್ ಪಟೇಲ್ ಅವರು ಭಾರತ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ನೀಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕೊಡುಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಕ್ಕೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೀಮಿತ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಭಾಷಾವಾರು ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳ ವಿಂಗಡಣೆ ಏನಾಯಿತು ಅದರ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಸರ್ದಾರ್ ಪಟೇಲ್ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಹಕಾರ ಚಳುವಳಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಹೇಗೆ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಐಕ್ಯತೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡೋದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಭಾರತ ದೇಶದ ಒಂದು ವೈವಿಧ್ಯತೆ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಹೇಗೆ ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಪಟೇಲ್ ಅವರ ಬದುಕು ಮತ್ತು ಅವರ ಅನೇಕ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ವಿಚಾರ ಸಂಕಿರಣದ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಉದ್ದೇಶ ಏನು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಒಂದು ಐತಿಹಾಸಿಕ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪಟೇಲ್ ಅವರು ಅವರ ಬದುಕನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಅವರ ನೀತಿಗಳೇನಿತ್ತು, ಅವರು ಹೇಗೆ ರಾಜಕಾರಣವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು, ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ನ್ಯಾಯ ಹೇಗೆ ತರಬೇಕು ಈ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದೊಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ. ರಾಮಯ್ಯ ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ಅಪ್ಲೈಡ್ ಸೈನ್ಸಸ್, ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಸಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಲಾ ಸಂಯುಕ್ತ ಆಶ್ರಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ದಾರ್ ವಲ್ಲಭಾಯ್ ಪಟೇಲ್ ಅವರ ಪರಂಪರೆ, ಕೃಷಿ ಸುಧಾರಣೆ ಮತ್ತು ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ನ್ಯಾಯ ಎಂಬ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಸಮ್ಮೇಳನವು ಭವ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಆಗಸ್ಟ್ 23ರಂದು ಆಯೋಜಿಸಲಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಸಮ್ಮೇಳನದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಟೇಲ್ ರವರ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನವನ್ನು ವಿಕಸಿತ ಭಾರತ 2047 ಗುರಿಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ಚರ್ಚಿಸಲಾಗಿತ್ತು.